Hello students, hope you all are keeping well and are safe and sound at home. Students, you all are aware that the whole world is suffering with the fear of getting infected with the pandemic COVID-19 and are confined to our houses. So we are starting our preparatory class of class 11 online. And I'm happy to know that you all are in high spirits and at the same time mentally and physically prepared for the same. I'm Mrs. Shampa, your English teacher, and today I'm here to teach you the first chapter of your literature textbook Hornbill, that is The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh was born in the year 1915 in Hadali, Pakistan. He is most famous for his historical novel Train to Pakistan, published in the year 1956. His second major work included essays on India's emergency by the name Why I Supported the Emergency, published in the year 2004. His third major work was Delhi, a novel. He also wrote I Shall Not Hear the Nightingale, published in the year 1959. The Portrait of a Lady collected stories was in the form of short story collection. Apart from these, Khushwant Singh wrote and published a classic 2-volume book on Sikh history by the name A History of Sikhs. Significantly, he wrote his last book at the age of 98 titled The Good, the Bad and the Ridiculous. Khushwant Singh's literary contribution to the literature was immense. He entertained his readers with his satirical mode of writing. Khushwant Singh died at the age of 99 on 20th March 2014 because of cardiac arrest. The Portrait of a Lady is a part of an autobiography by Khushwant Singh. In this story, the author draws a pen portrait of his grandmother. He beautifully unfolds their relationship and how it undergoes several changes. In other words, the story is a loving tribute from a grandson to his grandmother. The story gives a picture of human relationships. It is a realistic account of how the grandparents give all their time, attention and love to their grandchildren. Students, as I've already told you, the chapter The Portrait of a Lady is autobiographical in nature. It talks about the real life experience of Khushwant Singh and his relationship with his grandmother. To explain the chapter, I have divided the chapter into 6 phases so that it would be clear and easy for you all to understand. So let us start with the first phase. Now let me explain the chapter. The author recalls his grandmother as a very old lady. For the 20 years that the author had known his grandmother, he had found her old and wrinkled. It was hard for him to believe that she had once been young and pretty and she had a husband. Khushwant Singh's grandfather's portrait hung on the wall of the drawing room. He wore a big turban, his clothes were loose, he looked at least 100 years old. Looking at his portrait, one could not imagine him in his youth with his wife and children. One could only say that he had only grandchildren. Now the author describes his grandmother. The thought of the grandmother being young and pretty was almost revolting to him. She was short, fat and slightly bent in stature, which I have already told you in the beginning. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles. Her silvery white hair was scattered over a wrinkled face. The author remembered her hobbling around the house in spotless white clothes, with one hand resting on her waist to balance a stoop and the other hand busy counting the beads of a rosary. Her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. So, children, have I told you that she was a religious lady? So her lips moved in inaudible prayer constantly throughout the day, and she used to tell the beads of rosary. The author's childhood with his grandmother. How did he spend his childhood with his grandmother? The author and his grandmother were good friends. His parents left him to stay with her when they shifted to the city. In the village, his grandmother took care of all his needs. She was quite active and agile. She used to wake him up in the morning and get him ready for school. She said her morning prayers in a sing-song manner while she bathed and dressed him in the hope that her grandson would learn them by heart. But the author listened to the prayers because he loved her voice, but never bothered to learn them. He had no interest in learning the prayers, but he only listened to her grandmother's songs that was chanting only because he loved his grandmother's voice. And after that, she would fetch his wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered it with yellow chalk. She would take an earthen ink pot and a reed pen and tie them in a bundle and hand it to the author. After having a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it for breakfast, they used to leave for school. The author's grandmother always accompanied him to the school as it was attached to the temple. The priest taught children the alphabet and the morning prayer. The children sat in 2 rows in the veranda. They would sing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus. While the author learnt his lesson at school, the grandmother would read scriptures in the adjoining temple. On their way back, they would feed stale chapatis to the dogs. Now the second phase. The turning point in the relationship of grandmother and the author. The turning point came in their relationship when they moved to the city to stay with Khushwant Singh's parents. In the city, the author went to an English school in a motor bus. The grandmother could not accompany him to the school. As there were no dogs in the streets, the grandmother took to feeding the sparrows. As the years rolled by, they saw less of each other. In spite of her immense interest in his studies, she couldn't help him in his lessons as he was learning English, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, and many more such things which she couldn't understand. And this made her unhappy. Sometimes she would ask him what the teacher had taught him, as she was curious about his studies. Grandmother didn't believe in the things taught as this English school and was distressed to learn that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures in the school. Moreover, she was very disturbed at the idea of music lessons being given at the English school. To her, music had lewd associations, and she considered music to be unsuitable for gentlefolk. According to the grandmother, music suited only harlots and beggars. Now, phase 3. The common link of friendship gets snapped. Now, what gets snapped? That is, the common link of friendship between the author and the grandmother was broken when the author went to the university and was given a room of his own. The grandmother accepted her loneliness and rarely spoke to anyone. Children, in your book, you can see the phrase accepted her seclusion with resignation. This shows the author's grandmother's passive submission to her secluded life after she gradually loses touch with her grandson. When the author was given a room of his own, the common link of friendship between the two was snapped. However, the grandmother accepted her fate without complaint. She rarely talked to anyone in the house and was busy spinning the wheel and reciting her prayers. Only in the afternoon, she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. They perched on her shoulders and some even on her head, but she never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. Now, phase 4. The author leaves for higher studies. The author decided to go abroad for higher studies for 5 years. He was sure that his grandmother would be upset at his departure. But she was not even sentimental. She came to the railway station to see him off. She showed no emotions. She was absorbed in praying and counting the beads of rosary. Silently, she kissed his forehead. The author thought that perhaps it was the last sign of physical contact between them, as because she was very old, and the author was doubtful of ever meeting her again. Phase 5. The grandmother celebrates the author's return and falls sick. The author returned after 5 years and was received by his grandmother at the station. She was unchanged and did not look a day older. She held him in her arms. He found her more religious and more self contained. He could hear her reciting prayers. Even that day, the happiest moment of her was feeding the sparrows herself. However, Kushwant Singh noticed something strange happened to her in the evening. For the first time ever, she did not pray. Instead, she collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum, and started to sing songs of the homecoming of warrior. This is how Kushwant Singh's grandmother celebrated her grandson's homecoming. Students, you can mark the phrase in your books, the sagging skins of the dilapidated drum. It points to the shabby and deteriorated condition of the drum. The grandmother celebrated the homecoming of the author by collecting the women of the neighborhood, as I've already told you, and getting an old drum. For several hours, she beat the worn out drum and sang the songs related to the homecoming of warriors. Kushwant Singh's family members tried to persuade the grandmother to stop to avoid overstraining herself, but she didn't listen. She fell ill the next day and she knew that her end was near. The grandmother was diagnosed with a mild fever by the doctor, but she insisted that her end was near. She told everyone that she did not want to talk to anyone and would rather spend her last moments praying. She ignored everyone's protests and started counting the beads in a rosary while praying. After a short while, the author Kushwant Singh noticed that his grandmother's lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. She died a peaceful death. She was covered with a red shawl. Phase 6. This is the last phase which describes the funeral of the grandmother. This phase also describes how the sparrows mourn the grandmother's death. In the evening, when the author and his family members went to the grandmother's room to take her for the last rites, they met a strange sight. They saw thousands of sparrows sitting scattered on the floor near her. They were silent. There was no chirping. The author's mother offered them some bread, but the sparrows took no notice of it. After the grandmother's body was taken, they flew away quietly. Thus, the sparrows mourned the grandmother's death and paid their silent tribute to her in a unique manner. So, children, here we come to the end of the chapter, The Portrait of a Lady. I think the theme of the chapter is clear to you. That is, it describes the relationship of a grandmother and a grandson. A grandmother and a grandson are related. The relation between them is a very beautiful relation, and it is a relation which could be cherished lifelong, even after the death of grandmother, because this relation is far beyond description. It could only be felt. Love doesn't have any particular definition. Love, care, affection, these words are just a feeling which one could feel. So similarly, the love, affection and the bond is strong. So Kushma Singh was related to his grandmother in a very unique and a different manner. Even it also describes how this love could be understood by animals and birds. So the birds even paid the last tribute in a silent manner. Students, in this chapter there are certain phrases which have a deep meaning. So go through the phrases, get to know its meaning, which I already explained while I was explaining the chapter. I'd asked you also to underline in your books, find out. Once again, I would read out the phrases, and you can jot it down. The first one is, the thought was almost revolting. Second, an expanse of pure white serenity. Third, a turning point. Fourth is, accepted her seclusion with resignation. Next is, a veritable bedlam of chirrupings. Next is, frivolous rebukes. And the last one, the sagging skins of the dilapidated drum. So these words, these phrases have deep meaning. So go through it and get to write down the relation to the chapter. I hope you all have understood the chapter. So read the chapter and then relate it to my explanation. So here we come to the end. Thank you.